Well, let's get this over with. What's going on, everybody, and welcome in to this edition of the Card Central Postgame Show right here on STL Sports Central. I'm Brenden Schaeffer, along with Ethan Hannaford. Of course, all content here on STL Sports Central is brought to you by DraftKings. The crown is yours. The crown tonight was not the Cardinals as they fall to the Los Angeles Dodgers. 12-6. I trust you, Ethan. That's what you put as the final score. Honestly, kind of lost count after all the runs the Dodgers were scoring there for a minute. So whatever you tell me the final score is, I'll believe you. But let us know in the comments here how you feel about it, Cardinals fans. As well, Ethan, we'll start with this. Miles Mikolas was not good tonight as he only gets through 3, which is the same number of home runs that he delivered or surrendered, rather, to the Dodger lineup. Your thoughts on the Miles Mikolas start from this evening, Ethan? I believe, sir, you are muted.
Hey.
Now you are not.
It's 12:05, okay?
I get it.
12:05.
It's fair.
18 runs were scored. 2/3 of them did not belong to the Cardinals. Miles Mikolas, a rough outing. There's no secret to it. It continues to spiral. It's just the reality. When you look at his season, you could really break it into two tales. I mean, you break it down the first 12 starts, and Miles Mikolas, up to that point, had been a very serviceable pitcher. In fact, if Miles Mikolas had the ERA that he did through the first 12 games of the year, right now, he'd have the best ERA on the Cardinals, which is, I'm not sure if that's impressive, Miles, or concerning for the rest of the team. But
that's gross. It's gnarly.
Through his first 12 starts, 4-2 with a 3.96 ERA, only 4 home runs allowed, 27 earned runs, walked 17, struck out 36. His 10 starts since, 2-7 now, a 6.52 ERA in 49 2/3, has allowed the same amount of hits, 9 more runs in the last 10 starts than the first 12, 17 home runs. Yes, I repeat, 17. He allowed 4 in his first 12 starts, and he struck out 40 and has walked 7. So you look at some of those numbers, and obviously the alarming one is the home run. But attached with that, in my opinion, is the walks. Last year, if you recall, the last couple of years, walks have not been an issue for Mikolas. It's been throwing too many strikes. And it wasn't hard to recognize that in the first however many starts of the year, there had been an emphasis for Mikolas on not throwing nearly as many strikes, being much more careful around the edge of the zone. And as a result, we saw more walks from him. It seems like that mindset has just completely disappeared. Maybe that's still the game plan, but he's just not able to execute, unfortunately. We're seeing the fastball just looks like a meatball far too often. In these last several starts, the home run numbers continue to climb. And it just has been a very forgettable, it's been a very forgettable 10 starts for Miles Mikolas, 6.52 ERA in his last 10 starts in a Cardinal uniform.
Yeah, it didn't go well for him. Ryan Fernandez, people were not thrilled about Ryan Fernandez being back in the fold. To Scotty's point here about Fernandez, they're just filling out the season, guys. Remember 2023? They had a lot of guys come up, had a lot of guys come out. It was like an open tryout for the bullpen that year. You're going to see some guys, and look, if Fernandez gets shelled a bunch of times, okay, we tried it again. We know for next time, probably not somebody that you're counting on for 2026. There can be a little bit of value in that. But we said, when you trade Helsley, when you trade Maton, when you trade Matz, and that was the plan, and they executed it, you're going to end up probably seeing some games like this one. Just for me, though, it was great analysis there, Ethan. I throw all the analysis out the window, though, sometimes with Miles Mikolas, and I just watch him pitch. And I'm like, he has the most, again, I've used this kind of phrasing before when describing a rough Mikolas outing, and I think it's applicable. Sometimes we talk about guys that have really good deceptiveness on the mound. They hide the ball well. Whatever the opposite of that is how Miles Mikolas delivers the baseball. Kind of like the coach out there in Little League, here it comes, big guy. And I mean, it is just when he's not sharp, it is such a seeable baseball. I don't know if that's like really sharp analysis, but that's what it looks like from my couch. And the curveball that was hit, I think it was on the Teoscar Hernandez home run. That might be the one that I retweeted, and I said, "What are we doing here?" Because he gave up a couple to Muncy, like it happens, whatever. But then just the lollipop, and again, it's just everything in the body language of it. And I know sometimes throwing a curveball, like you're snapping it off, and so inherently it's going to look different. But I mean, he might as well wave the neon arrow and say, "Hey, it's going to be curveball. It's going to be a hanger. Get ready." I don't know what the purpose of that pitch is, but you know, it happens. Should it continue to happen? I don't know, guys. Like, I know there's a lot of people got the pitchforks out ready to see Miles be done. I get it. I don't, you know, this was not a game on paper that you scripted to be very favorable for him against this Dodger lineup, and it wasn't. And Ollie had seen enough after 3. He's like, don't care about the bullpen. We're off on Thursday. Let's just get somebody else in here. And that was right. I was getting a text from my sister in the second inning, and she goes, are they allowed to take out, you know, she likes the Cardinals and everything, but she doesn't follow it quite as closely. All right, can they take out? I'm like, you know, normally you could do that. You're going to burn up the bullpen. And then 1 inning later, she goes, okay, thanks. That's all I needed. Because they did. They said 3 innings was enough. And I'm like, man, if my sister sees it, surely the Cardinals could see it. So, yeah, it was that kind of game for Miles Mikolas. There might be a few more of those in store, but it's his last year. And I tell you what, man, Memphis doesn't have the guys. You can call up a Curtis Taylor or an Aaron Wilkerson if it makes you feel better. Maybe they will. I just don't think so. I think they're going to roll Miles out there for, you know, however many more starts it is on the calendar, and then they will shake his hand, and that will be that. But yeah, it's been a rough 10 stretch start. It's been a rough contract extension for Miles Mikolas. Really, he's you know, he's gotten his money's worth. I don't know that the Cardinals quite have, but there's no spite in it anymore, as they say in Death of a Salesman. It's just what it is at this point. And that's kind of how I feel about the Miles experience right now at this. You know what? You're going to get a couple more good ones from him too, Ethan, but you'll probably get 2 or 3 more like the one we saw tonight.
Probably. You kind of answered it, but I just want to make sure, because if the Cardinals were to move on from him right now, I don't know who you would go to. And I think it would, even though you could make the point that DFAing him and bringing someone else up is contributing to the future, you could also argue, if you don't feel like anyone's there, and that it's going to end up being detrimental to your bullpen that is filled with youth. I mean, I think they said the other day that the only one that has more than a year of service time is Jojo Romero. This is a really young bullpen, and you're going to see nights like this sometimes where, everything looks off and everything is an absolute wreck. I mean, there's going to be nights like this. This is a super young bullpen, and I wonder if you bring up a guy like Curtis Taylor, you bring up a guy like Aaron Wilkerson. I don't know. Part of me wonders if it's a little bit too early for that, out of trying to care well for my really young bullpen pieces. I could see them potentially, maybe the last couple of starts of the year, maybe that's a little bit more realistic, where this conversation becomes, okay, like at this point, what are we doing? Like what purpose does it serve besides saying goodbye to Miles Mikolas? But at this point, I'm saying that if you pull him and bring someone up that the organization doesn't feel great about being a major league starter at this point, I would rather, I think, see Kyle Leahy start becoming an opener than I would then bring anyone up from the minors. That honestly is my favorite option.
You bring up like Curtis Taylor, but you just have him as one of those bulk relievers to go behind Kyle Leahy for however many innings Leahy can't handle out of the first 6, right? If Leahy's only throwing 45 pitches this time, he'll get you through 2 innings or 2 1/3, and then Curtis Taylor's going to have to eat. All right, and Aaron Wilkerson's going to have to eat. Yeah, Richard, you could call Kyle Gibson. I think Gibby has announced the retirement. Honest to goodness, what they should do, let's have a spectacle out of this. Let's put something on this year that has some meaning to it. No, and Lance is retired. You call Rich Hill and you become that 15th team and you get that man his record. All right. You become the 15th team. He was just DFA'd by the Royals a week ago, so he's fresh. I mean,
you want to sell tickets, man. You want to sell tickets.
You know what's here? Here's actually, Ethan, though, in all the jokes that we can make here, here's some analysis we can do. Is it interesting that Ollie pulls him after 3 innings? Because that touches a little bit to the dynamic of, I think, what we're looking at here the rest of the season. Let me lay this out. Ollie Marmol is managing the Cardinals to try to win the game that day. The Cardinals are managing the roster like they don't really care about winning the game that day or the next day or the rest of the year, which, again, we were advocating for. You had to get what you could for those relievers at the deadline. But we said, here's what could happen, right? You could have some ugly days thereafter as a result, and probably a team that finishes below 500. However, if it's just kind of status quo is what it is, we're going to roll them out there and just kind of get through the year, you let Miles Mikolas throw 90 to 100 pitches and try to get through 5 innings. But the game was still close-ish, and Ollie Marmol went to his bullpen pretty aggressively. I think that's such a fascinating dynamic because Ollie Marmol didn't manage this game like he's content to roll Miles Mikolas out there 5 days from now. That's not the way he managed the game. You know what I mean? But what is the front office going to do about it? Probably nothing. Right. Because as you said, who do you even turn to? But that's an interesting dynamic to me. That he did not manage this game like somebody who's gone, well, who gives a rip, you know? They pulled him after 3 because they were close enough to have it matter.
I was surprised to see that Swanson was into the game in the 4th inning, which, by the way, Matt Swanson looked really good tonight. You want one positive from tonight?
He did look sharp. Matt
Swanson looked really sharp and faced the heart of the Dodgers lineup through 2 innings. I think he struck out 4. So anyway, Matt Swanson, that's like
struck out Ohtani too. That was a nice at bat.
One of the few positives from tonight, Matt Swanson. But yes, I agree. I was surprised that they had pulled him, and obviously, you know, we can't speak for Ollie, but man, out of everyone, out of the way that the organization has been ran, he's the one that's having to deal with trying to figure out how to play all these guys with these massive log jams. He's the one dealing with the terrible starting pitching. I have to imagine he's more over it than anyone probably.
No, I promise you he is. I promise you he is. This morning, I did the show with Randy Carricker on STL Sports Central, and the topic came up, and you know, we spent a lot of time talking about Ollie and kind of the fact that, okay, Heim's coming in. Is he going to be Heim's guy, or are they going to have a good relationship to where he sticks around? And like, we don't know. We're just speculating. But we were kind of like speaking to the merits of Ollie's performance this year and just in general as a manager. And it was funny because we're like talking about the things that you blame Ollie for versus, well, I thought we said we were mad about the front office and the way that the players were handled. And it's like Ollie gets this narrative of, well, he's the guy that was chosen over Schultz, so he's the yes man to Mozeliak. And I said, if nobody was missing, like if you weren't seeing rather the blaring neon arrows that were blinking out of Ollie Marmol's mouth throughout the entire Eric Fetty saga for like a month, I don't know what it is. Like the man did everything short of falling on his knees and begging to get a more competitive option in there from the front office, and they just simply wouldn't do it for the guy. And so that falls on the front office, right? But like to the point we're making, Ollie is kind of the guy left to clean it up. And I saw it reported that he was having meetings with individual players, everybody on the roster, trying to kind of say, hey man, here's the way we're looking at this, and doing it with everybody, trying to keep the morale. But it's a losing situation when the ship is taken on water and you're the captain. You didn't put the hole in the boat. It's not a very good analogy because when you're out to sea, putting a hole in the boat is almost never the answer. But in this case, it was kind of what the Cardinals had to do from a front office perspective. But the guy that's driving that ship goes, no, wait a minute. I don't want this hole here. And he's got to kind of figure out a way to pick up the pieces. So it's very, very interesting and telling to me that he says tonight, I have seen absolutely enough of Miles Mikolas for today. Matt, get in there because you've got a live arm and we're still in this baseball game. It didn't last, obviously, because they took half of his bullpen and shipped it off. But I do thought that was, I did think I should say that was an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And part of me was like, yeah, let's go. Come on, like let the kids play. And
Yeah.
yes, I know that. Does that fry your bullpen for tomorrow? Yes. Do you have an off day Thursday? Yeah. But you know what? I'm okay with it because at this point, it's sink or swim. Go for it. Let them play. And if they get absolutely obliterated like Granillo did tonight, and if they end the season with an ERA of 7, like so be it, because you're going to have nights like this where it's an absolute blow up probably. But if you can, that's why it's going to be really hard probably for fans to take away positives from this bullpen, because there's going to be nights like this where it absolutely blows up in your face and the ERAs are super elevated. But there's also going to be nights where things look really good and you can take positives from them. And maybe you even have more positives than negatives, but you're going to have blow up nights like this. So it's going to at times probably be hard to take positives away, but I would much rather have it be like this and figure out who you have and who you don't than let Miles Mikolas throw 5 innings rather than 3 and allow, at that pace against the Dodger lineup, is it going to get better? Maybe. He's a veteran. Maybe he can adjust. But is it going to get better? Like, are you putting money that it's going to improve in the 4th and 5th inning? I'm not. I'm just being honest. I would rather see the young guys than Miles Mikolas at this point.
Yeah, and like tonight you did. Swanson pitches the 4th and the 5th and showed you something. I don't know that he's somebody that you can stretch out, but certainly like he's impressed in a multi-inning type of role. And if we're going to start blurring the lines, like there's a case to be made that I know the bullpen would be depleted because it's not like your other 4 starters are workhorses that get you 7 innings every single time through. So you can't necessarily just say, hey, it's bullpen day and ask, 3 different guys to throw multiple innings to get you to the 7th. That's tough. But by the same token, like if the lines are getting blurred, everybody in that bullpen is going to have to know they're a multi-inning reliever. They're a guy that's going to have to give multiples. And Swanson said, sure, I got you. And did it against the toughest part of their lineup, and that showed you something. Let's see it the next time out. Like, not to crap on Granillo, because we've seen him be in the spot where they say, hey, you got to show us something. We need you. And he did it. Tonight wasn't his night. He was the guy that had to wear it, despite the fact that it wasn't his night. Game was over. You're just trying to get through the end of the game at that point, and he struggled to do it. As you said, Ethan, those types of games are going to happen. But I like seeing Swanson, and I thought Graceffo was solid tonight as well. I want to see more of him, and maybe a guy that they could stretch out as well and find a way to get more innings for this club. But if you're still tuned in tonight, you're a trooper. And if you're tuning in tomorrow after that one, it's probably because you want to see somebody like Matthew Liberatore or maybe the Cardinal lineup get going. And if you do that, you could perhaps check out DraftKings Pick Six. While you do, DraftKings Pick Six is your place to play, and it's really the simplest way to get in on the action by downloading the app from DraftKings. Crazy simple. Pick more or less on the stats for 2 more of your favorite players, and boom, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. And Pick Six is available right here in Missouri, so don't miss out on the fun, and don't settle for a smaller payout. Switch to Pick Six, and right now new customers can get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. So download the DraftKings Pick Six app now and use code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports for new customers to get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick Six from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick Six not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick Six credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at picksix.draftkings.com/promos.
So here's this from Jeremy. He says, hey, I'm going to watch tomorrow because Ohtani is pitching. So maybe you're going with a little more on the strikeouts for Ohtani. I don't know. I think when it comes to DraftKings Pick Six, it would be a little bit difficult to ascertain with Ohtani because you never know how long he's going to pitch. But I think they said 4 innings is the plan.
4.
Is that exciting as a Cardinals fan? Like, I get to see Ohtani pitch 4 innings tomorrow. That's kind of fun. It's a little bit
exciting.
like...
It's exciting for me because
Yeah.
Round 1 of the fantasy baseball playoffs just started, and I have Ohtani. So
Oh boy.
big outing tomorrow. Big outing. So, if there's a way for the Cardinals to win, but maybe it's a late inning thing where Ohtani's just lights out for 4 innings, I wouldn't hate it. I'd be okay with it.
I've got to see now when my playoffs start, because I'm surely I'm making the playoffs in a couple leagues, but I do have an Ohtani piece on one of my playoff bound teams, I believe. So maybe that's something I should be paying attention to. They want down on the farm. They want a farm report, Ethan, because on my podcast I kind of neglected to do the other podcasts this weekend. And today when I did the podcast, I didn't talk about the farm because I'm like, well, they didn't play on Monday. But the farm report is that Memphis lost today 6-1. So it's not any better down there than it is up here. I don't know if that was the report everybody was hoping for. But hey, we're getting some confidence in the chat.
2 for 4.
What's that?
Nathan Church 2 for 4. And there's a guy. Aaron Wilkerson, 5 shutout innings.
And again, like at some point you go, well, it can't be worse than what Mikolas is giving you. It can be worse, but like not than today. It can't be worse than Mikolas's worst start. Aaron Wilkerson won't be worse than that. Rich Hill won't be worse than that. If Zach Plesac is still there, he won't be worse than that. But Mikolas, I do think on his good days has starts that those guys aren't probably going to give you. But I don't know. People are probably kind of tired of seeing Miles Mikolas, so I understand the reasoning behind the way that people would talk about this.
Also, in high A tonight, Jesus Baez, one of the newest members of the Cardinals, 3 for 4 with a run and a walk. Mason Molina gets his first start with the Peoria Chiefs. 4 innings, 2 hits, 2 earned runs, 4 walks, and 5 strikeouts. So maybe a location an issue tonight, but gets his first start. So there you go.
There you go. And we're going to wrap this up pretty quick tonight because, it's 12:30 in the morning, and I was told that I'm filling in for the Cat tomorrow on 590 at 8 a.m. And so I'm going to be not awake for that. But if you want to check that out, that's on the sister station, KLU information station, I believe is what that's called. But anyway, the thought that I was going to say, I'm barely here right now, Ethan. The thought that I was going to say, the trade, Mason Molina. You mentioned Mason Molina. That was the deal for Maton. I was on a plane when that deal happened, and so I wasn't as locked in on that one. It's very funny to me that the Cardinals have a trade deadline, or they're like, hey, we got to trade these guys that are expiring contracts. And then the first trade happens. It's your best piece, Ryan Helsley, and they're like, nobody knows who these people are. You got a bunch of A-ball prospects. And they're like, crap. Okay, what do we do? All right, hey, Blaze Jordan, remember him? Yeah, we thought about drafting him a few years ago. Didn't, but we thought about it, and now he's on our team. And everybody's like, all right, that's pretty good. And then they're like, but we're saving the best for last. We're going to get a guy named Molina. They're like, I don't know if he's any good. I don't know what his deal is, but his name is Molina. Like, that was so perfect. It's like, you're going to win. You got to find ways to get the easy victories. You got to get the layups. And so they grabbed a Molina with the final trade before the deadline. And J. Cole already saying they will win again when Molina arrives. The next Molina era is ensuing before your very eyes.
Oh, Shohei Ohtani versus Matthew Liberatore tomorrow.
Can't wait.
And hey, would love to see a solid outing out of Matthew Liberatore. I think there's still a lot to take away from him here in these last couple of months of the season. You talk about the last thing of importance I'll say tonight. What this last couple of months can be for some certain guys. Things could get super ugly, but if Matthew Liberatore could really have a strong finish, despite he's right, you are a zombie. If Matthew Liberatore could have a strong finish to the season, even with some of the the fatigue issues at times that he's dealt with, if he could have a strong finish to the year, boy, would that be a huge win for the Cardinals in their rotation going into 2026.
Yeah, it kind of feels like you're going, give us something. Yeah. Give us something, because you're looking pretty lean when it comes to that rotation. Everybody you had hope for, other than Quinn Matthews, right now is on the shelf. And so And again, I'm looking forward to the offseason because every rumor or every signing is good. Like, there's going to have to be some movement on this roster, and there'll be some guys that fill in. But Liberatore is the guy that's here now, and hopefully he performs well and at least gives you that kind of strong feelings going into the 2026 season. But that's going to do it for Ethan and myself on this episode of the Card Central post-game show. All content on STL Sports Central is brought to you by DraftKings. The crown is yours. For Ethan, I'm Brendan. I'll see you tomorrow as well. I'll be on postgame one more time in this Dodgers series as we break down Libby Ohtani right here on STL Sports Central.